How do you find a good wholesale supplier? How do you build a supplier relationship? People always talk about this, build connections, build a supplier relationship, but how do you actually do that? And it all kind of comes down to leverage. But first you need to understand what I would class as two types of suppliers. You have front-facing suppliers, registered companies that you can Google search, they have a website and you buy from them. You don't interact with the owner, you interact through a website. And that's a public supplier, front-facing supplier. And then you have what you could call a private supplier, probably more direct to the source overseas, where communication is informal, it's done through WhatsApp or messages, whatever it is, right? And these are the two types of suppliers. And you need to understand that front-facing suppliers, public suppliers, you're never really going to be able to build a relationship and get cheaper deals through these people, through websites, right? Because it comes down to leverage. If you're spending a couple £100, £500, even £1,000 with these suppliers once a month, these public suppliers, you have no leverage. They have lots of customers, and so if you don't spend money with them, if you don't deal with them, if you don't do business with them, it doesn't really affect them. You have no leverage. They have leverage over you. You need their business, not the other way around. Now, say you started spending £10,000 a month, £15,000 a month with these suppliers, then it reverses, the inverse happens. You kind of have leverage over them now, because that's a good chunk of money, that's a lot of money, and they'll want your business. And that's when you can negotiate better deals, get better prices. You know, everybody wants to cut out this middleman and get the cheapest prices and the best quality, but why would these people deal with you if you're only going to be spending a few £100 with them? It doesn't make sense on their side of it. And so you have to be in a position where you're the one who has leverage if you want the best deals, if you want the best prices. And so the opposite side of it, you have the public suppliers, and then say the more private suppliers where it's a little bit less informal. You have to actively go out and it's not accessible to the general public, right? Now, you don't necessarily need to have as much leverage here, or you can have leverage in a different way. If you find somebody that can source items for you and they have very few customers and you're willing to spend money with them, you have a bit of leverage. They don't have a lot of customers, therefore they want your business. You have the leverage, right? And therefore maybe you can demand cheaper prices in the beginning with lower quantities. But then the trade-off there versus a public supplier, with a website, you know what you're getting. These are registered companies, it's risk-free. You don't have to go and ask for a specific thing at a certain price. Whereas with these private suppliers, where it's a little less informal, you have to go to them, you have to reach out to them and tell them what you want and what price that you want it at. You have to understand how it works, and therefore you need to have prior knowledge. You need to know exactly what you want and how much you're willing to pay, so that you can go to them, ask for it, and find out whether or not they can provide it. If they can't, then you don't deal with them. If they can, is the quality there? How do you vet them? And all of these things that follow, because at the end of the day, when it's done through WhatsApp and you're speaking to someone in a different country who English isn't necessarily the first language, and there's so many variables, there's a lack of trust, and you then have to go and send them money and hope that they send you the stock. And so there's a trade-off there. You can stay with these public suppliers, these front-facing suppliers that are accessible, the stock's there at a reasonable price. And this is where you should start in the beginning. When you're only spending £500, £1,000, you have no leverage, essentially. And so that's your option until you can build it to a level where you're spending a lot more every single month. You're then the one who has the leverage because the suppliers want your business. Or you can go down the other route through a private supplier, but then you have all the caveats that come with that. So it's about, one, being at the level that allows you to build that relationship, build that network, and two, having the knowledge to know exactly what you want and for how much.